What does manifesting mean? Let's just start with the basics. The way I see it, manifesting is when you take something that is not yet here in a physical reality and you bring it into physical reality. You manifest it here. One of the teachers that I've learned and been trained by, I'm now a certified teacher in infinite possibilities, Mike Dooley, he describes it as thoughts becoming things. So you have a thought, and over time, with some inspiration and alignment, the way that you're being, and some inspired action, your thoughts become things. The most basic everyday way I can show you that you already do this is think about how tonight you're going to decide what you're having for dinner. Now, if you know how to cook, you'll think about what am I going to make? And then at some point, you will actually have dinner. If you don't cook yourself, you'll order that dinner. So that'll be your inspired action. If you do cook yourself and you have all the ingredients, you'll make the meal and you'll eat it. Now, I know you're thinking, that is so basic. How is making a meal anything about manifesting? Here's the thing. You had a thought. You knew you needed dinner. So this was a need in your body. You had a thought. You believed you could make dinner or order dinner. You had the money to order it or you had the skills to make it. And so you made it. And while in this state of being, your current state of awareness, this may seem basic to a 2-year-old, to a 7-year-old, to a baby. This is not basic at all. If I ask my 5-year-old, go ahead, think about what you want for dinner and make it, it is not going to go well. If I ask my 9-year-old, there are some things she can make. It is going to be a challenge for her in some ways. And even the things she needs to make, she has to put a lot of effort and thought into it and slowly practice it. Whereas for me, unless I'm making a new recipe, I just on autopilot chop up my onions, chop up my garlic, chop up my peppers, put it in a pan with some olive oil and saute it and add the jar of sauce, add the spaghetti. My daughter making spaghetti, even though she knows how, she does not chop all those veggies. So her manifestation of a spaghetti dinner would look very different than mine. My son, the 5-year-old, attempting to do this, it would be a total mess and it might even be dangerous. Now, each one of us could have the thought, I want spaghetti for dinner, but the actual act of implementing it is going to depend largely on our belief and our identity about what can be done. And also, as you see, there is some level of skill involved. My daughter is in between where my son and I are, in that she can continue to add the skills to get the thing that she wants. And eventually she will have that identity, that being, that skill set in order to get the thing that she wants, the spaghetti dinner. My son, we would need to start training him with the skills and the resources and also empowering him. My daughter, for example, when we're cooking, she gets frustrated a lot. So I have to talk to her about it. I have to break down simple things that now for me are automatic. I don't even think about measuring the ingredients. I just do it. I've done it for years. So let's think about 3 things that you might want if you're looking to manifest. So you could want love and companionship. That's one very clear thing. You could want more money, more abundance, which could come through career or work or business. And then perhaps you also want this feeling of fulfillment, of creating something, of achieving a project, of having success. Now, if you go, look out, you could find people who have found love, people who have found abundance, found money. And some of them, if you ask them, it's similar to me figuring out how to break down all the steps of making pasta with my daughter. They're already so embedded in the identity, and some of these habits and actions, activities, skills are unconscious. it takes time to break them down and figure out, what am I actually doing? Similarly, with manifesting, the state of being involves, there are certain things that go along with the state of being. Yes, it is an internal state. And at a truly deeply metaphysical level, there are some people who they can simply be and things manifest for them. Probably like less than 0.001. I like to think of it as the yin yang. And in the yin yang symbol, there are the two extremes. And within all of the darkness, there's still that dot of light. And within all of the light, there's still that dot of darkness. So yes, there are people who can achieve with what appears to be no effort at all. And there's people who can manifest with, as far as we can tell, they're not doing a dang thing. And there are people, similarly, who put so much work into it. And what they manifest seems so small compared to the work that they do. There's the whole spectrum in between of every level of being versus doing, the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine, the thought versus the creation of the thing. Most of us, because of just the way population works, most of us are in the middle. We're going to need some of the thought and some of the action. It's always better, even though our human mind is wired to want to do more action first, because those are the things we can see. Those are the physical manifestations. And it almost seems intrinsic, like, oh, to do a thing, you use a thing, you do a thing. But even though we're working in the physical world, you still want to always go back to the seed of it, which is the thought. The seed of it, which is the thought, the idea, the beginning of it. That's where you work from. And as much as possible, that's where you want to prioritize. Because if you have a good beginning, you can have the rest of the path work so easily for you. But if your beginning is not that great, and you're visualizing and working with that, what comes out of that may not be exactly what you want. So focusing more on the being states, the visualization, the what feels like inaction part of manifesting, for most people, is where you need to focus more on that great visualization, because so many people are used to action. If on the flip side, you feel like you've been doing tons of the being, the intuitive, the more feminine stuff, and you're not seeing the results, it's possibly time for the next 1 to 3 months for you to experiment with turning up the dial on the actions you take, on the inspired and aligned actions. You might need to create more of that momentum. And part of the manifesting journey is, even though there are differences with each thing you want to manifest, I find for most of us, there's a certain level of input, of energy, of beingness, of thoughts that you have to do before you get the outcome. Some people manifest things just like that, and that's just how they work. Other people, you may have to do it for 2 months or 3 months or 6 months. Rather than concerning yourself with what others are doing, just start to make note and learn, how does it work for you? It works differently for everyone, which is why there are so many people teaching manifesting. It's why there's so much to learn and so much to experiment with. But take joy in the process, take joy in the learning about yourself and the experimenting of it.